Imagine a world where freedom was a luxury, where the lives of the many served the whims of the few. In this brutal reality, one man dared to defy the mightiest empire the world had ever known. This is the story of Spartacus, the slave who became a gladiator, the gladiator who became a leader, and the leader who became a legend. His rebellion shook Rome to its core, inspiring countless generations to fight for freedom. But how did a single man, once bound in chains, ignite a war against an empire? To uncover this, we must begin at the very start of his incredible journey. Act 1. The Rise of a Gladiator. Forged in the crucible of Thrace, a land of fierce warriors and shifting alliances, Spartacus learned to survive. Life was a constant struggle, a relentless fight for existence. While the details of his early life remain shrouded in mystery, what we do know paints a vivid picture of a man forged by hardship. Thrace, situated on the edges of Roman control, was a battleground of shifting alliances. Spartacus likely fought as a soldier, gaining a reputation for his strength and bravery. But even warriors are not immune to the iron fist of Rome. His life, however, took a dramatic and devastating turn. Captured during a brutal campaign against Thracian rebels, Spartacus was torn from his homeland. Sold into slavery, he was dragged to the heart of the Roman Republic, a world of unimaginable cruelty, where the lives of the many were sacrificed for the pleasures of the few. He was purchased by Lentulus Batiatus, the owner of a gladiatorial school in Capua, where slaves were trained to fight to the death for the entertainment of Roman crowds. In the brutal confines of Batiatus's Ludus, Spartacus quickly proved himself to be a force to be reckoned with. Standing over 6 feet tall, with a physique honed by years of warfare, he excelled in combat. But while other gladiators accepted their fate, Spartacus harbored a burning desire for freedom, a yearning to break the chains of slavery. Then, in 73 BCE, the unthinkable happened. An opportunity for rebellion presented itself. The gladiators at Batiatus's school were being pushed to their limits, treated with increasing cruelty by their masters. Spartacus, charismatic and bold, began rallying his fellow fighters. His plan? To escape, arm themselves, and carve a path to freedom. Armed with kitchen knives and makeshift weapons, Spartacus and about 70 other gladiators staged their daring escape. Overpowering the guards and seizing real weapons, they fled to the slopes of Mount Vesuvius. This was no ordinary escape, it was a declaration of war. Spartacus was now more than a gladiator, he was the leader of a rebellion. From their base on Vesuvius, Spartacus and his followers launched their campaign against Rome. Initially, the Senate dismissed the rebellion as a minor disturbance, sending a small force to crush the insurgents. But Spartacus, employing guerrilla tactics honed from his time as a Thracian warrior, outmaneuvered and destroyed the Roman forces. Each victory brought more recruits to his cause: runaway slaves, disillusioned peasants, and even deserters from the Roman army. What began as a small uprising was rapidly growing into a full-scale war. Spartacus's army swelled to thousands, each fighter united by one common goal: freedom. But while Spartacus dreamed of liberation, he knew the road ahead would be perilous. Rome's elite would not sit idly by as their empire was challenged. Act 2. Building an army of the oppressed. With each victory, Spartacus's rebellion grew stronger, but so too did the challenges he faced. The ragtag group of gladiators quickly transformed into a disciplined army. Spartacus, understanding the importance of strategy, divided his forces into units, appointing leaders among the most skilled fighters. Despite lacking formal training, the rebellion's passion and resolve gave them an edge over the complacent Roman forces. Rome, still underestimating the threat posed by a band of escaped slaves, sent Praetor Gaius Claudius Glaber to swiftly crush the rebellion. Glaber's force of 3,000 soldiers cornered Spartacus's army on Mount Vesuvius, cutting off their escape. But Spartacus, however, was no ordinary rebel. He devised a brilliant plan. Using vines and ropes, his men descended the steep cliffs of the volcano, flanking and overwhelming Glaber's forces in a surprise attack. The Roman soldiers, unprepared and panicked, were routed. This victory was a turning point, not just for the rebels, but for the entire Roman Republic. Spartacus's men seized weapons, armor, and supplies from the defeated Romans. News of the rebellion's success spread like wildfire, inspiring thousands of slaves to flee their masters and join Spartacus. In a matter of months, his army grew to nearly 70,000 strong. But Spartacus's vision extended far beyond mere survival. He sought to lead his army out of Italy entirely. His plan was to march northward, cross the Alps, and allow his followers to disperse back to their homelands. Freedom was within reach, but the lure of revenge and plunder tempted many of his men. They demanded to march south, toward the wealthy cities of Italy, where they could continue their fight and live off the spoils of war. Reluctantly, Spartacus acquiesced. His army descended upon Roman estates and cities, liberating slaves and capturing vast riches. But this decision came at a cost. This shift in focus, however, alarmed the Roman Senate. The rebellion was no longer a mere uprising. It was a full-scale war threatening the very foundations of Roman society. The Senate appointed Marcus Licinius Crassus, one of the wealthiest and most ambitious men in Rome, to lead the campaign against Spartacus. Crassus, unlike his predecessors, understood the gravity of the situation. He raised an army of 50,000 seasoned soldiers and implemented harsh discipline, reviving the ancient practice of decimation to ensure loyalty among his ranks. Spartacus, aware of Crassus's reputation, prepared his army for the inevitable confrontation. He knew that the battles ahead would determine not only his fate but the fate of every slave in the Roman Republic. As winter approached, Spartacus made one final attempt to negotiate with Crassus, hoping to avoid further bloodshed. But Crassus, driven by pride and ambition, refused to consider peace. The stage was set for one of the most dramatic confrontations in Roman history. Spartacus and his army of the oppressed stood against the might of Rome. The outcome of this clash would echo through the ages, forever etching Spartacus's name into the annals of history. Act 3. The war against Rome. The war against Rome escalated into a brutal and relentless struggle, a clash that would define the fate of Spartacus and his followers. Each battle was a gamble, pitting the rebels' ingenuity against Rome's vast resources. Spartacus knew that every victory was a temporary reprieve, every loss a potential catastrophe. The rebellion's greatest triumph came when they faced a Roman army led by a complacent commander who grossly underestimated their strength. Spartacus orchestrated a daring ambush, utilizing the element of surprise to scatter the Roman forces. This victory not only secured supplies and weapons but also demonstrated that even Rome's legions were not invincible. However, the seeds of discord began to sow within the ranks of the rebellion. Not all of Spartacus's followers shared his vision of freedom beyond Italy. Some were consumed by greed, driven to plunder rather than strategize. Others doubted Spartacus's leadership, questioning the wisdom of continuing to challenge Rome. Despite the internal divisions, Spartacus maintained his resolve. He understood that unity was their only hope against Rome's relentless pursuit. As Crassus's forces closed in, Spartacus devised a bold plan. He intended to march his army southward, where they could seize ships and escape across the Mediterranean. But fate and dissent among his ranks would intervene. Act 4. The final stand. Facing insurmountable odds, Spartacus gathered his remaining forces, delivering a rousing speech that reignited their courage and reminded them of the fight for freedom. His words were a rallying cry, a testament to his unyielding spirit. Crassus, determined to end the rebellion once and for all, constructed a massive fortification to trap Spartacus's forces. Surrounded and outnumbered, Spartacus's army faced annihilation. In a desperate bid to break free, they launched a daring assault on Crassus's lines. The battle was ferocious, a chaotic melee where the rebels fought with the ferocity of cornered lions. Spartacus himself led the charge, cutting through Roman soldiers with unmatched skill and determination. His bravery inspired his followers, but even the greatest warriors cannot overcome overwhelming odds. The rebels were eventually overwhelmed, their ranks decimated by Crassus's disciplined legions. Spartacus's body was never found, a mystery that only added to his legend. Some say he fell in battle, fighting to the very end. Others believe he escaped, living out his days in anonymity. Whatever the truth, his legacy was cemented in the annals of history. Act 5. The Legacy of Spartacus. The name Spartacus would echo far beyond his time, becoming a symbol of resistance and defiance against tyranny. News of his rebellion spread across the Roman Empire, inspiring fear in the elite and hope among the oppressed. His story became a cautionary tale for Roman leaders, a reminder of the consequences of unchecked cruelty and oppression. In the immediate aftermath of the rebellion, Rome made an example of the captured rebels. Over 6,000 survivors were crucified along the Appian Way, a gruesome warning to any who might dare to follow in Spartacus's footsteps. Yet, rather than erasing his legacy, this act of brutality immortalized his cause. The sheer scale of the rebellion forced Rome to confront the systemic injustices that had fueled it. Historians argue that Spartacus's revolt contributed to significant shifts in Roman policy. While the institution of slavery remained intact, reforms were introduced to improve conditions for slaves. Some scholars even suggest that the rebellion accelerated Rome's eventual transition from a republic to an empire, as leaders sought to consolidate power and prevent such uprisings in the future. Beyond the realm of history, Spartacus became a legend, his story retold and reimagined through the ages. From ancient chronicles to modern films and literature, the tale of the slave-turned-rebel resonates with people across cultures and generations. His fight for freedom against insurmountable odds continues to inspire movements for justice and equality worldwide. Act 6. Lessons from History. The story of Spartacus is more than just a historical anecdote. It is a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit. His journey teaches us about the importance of unity, the strength of conviction, and the sacrifices required in the pursuit of justice. Spartacus's rebellion, though ultimately unsuccessful, challenged the foundations of one of history's greatest empires. His story reminds us that even in the face of overwhelming odds, the fight for freedom and dignity is never in vain. Spartacus's life is a powerful reminder that change often begins with those who refuse to accept the world as it is. His legacy encourages us to question injustice, to stand against oppression, and to believe in the possibility of a better future. In the end, Spartacus's rebellion was not just a fight for freedom, it was a fight for humanity. It serves as a timeless call to action, urging each generation to confront the chains of their time, whatever form they may take. The spirit of Spartacus lives on, an eternal symbol of resistance, courage, and hope.